Hey guys, it's Cookie here today with an analysis of the game between Robert James Fischer and Boris Spassky. This is the first game in the Spassky-Fischer World Championship match of 1972 that was taken place in Reykjavik. So, before further ado, let's get started. So Spassky starts with the move d4, and then Fischer continues with knight f6, the usual move. After that, Spassky plays c4, suggesting a Nimzo Indian or a Bogo Indian, and Robert James Fischer accepts it with e6. After that, knight f3 is played, showing a clear Bogo Indian opening. After that, Fischer continued with the regular opening, except for this time it was instead of Bogo Indian, he played the Bernstein defense. So after a couple of moves, it became clear that it was the Gligorich system. So this opening is very common. So you may find this even in your own games. So if we could continue on with this. So after this, Bishop d3 was played, and then so it just continues. So here c5. Obviously, Fischer needs to open up the center, otherwise Black can never get the equality he wants. So the game just goes on like regular. Bishop a5, knight e2, d takes c4, bishop takes c4, bishop b6. Obviously, a move made to avoid b4 and also to just for protection. So after d takes c5, queen takes d1, and rook takes d1, and then only he takes bishop on c5 with bishop takes c5. After this, it looks like Spassky sort of has the advantage after playing b4, as he's obviously attacking more. And then after bishop e7, Spassky, all his pieces are set and ready to play, and his bishops are on good diagonals. So after bishop b2, Fischer responds with bishop d7, still passively played by Fischer right now. So rook c1 is played by Spassky. It continues rook d8, knight d4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, and bishop a4, attacking that rook and removing it from that, trying to remove it from the file. But now after bishop b3, bishop takes b3, knight takes b3, and rook takes d1. His rook, Spassky, still has control over the d file, but Fischer, also wanting some control, moves his rook to c8 to get control. There's many back rank combinations here, so if you like make small mistake, you may just lose the game. So it continues with king f1. Spassky doesn't want to make any mistakes, as he will not miss a back rank mate. Continues king f8, just moving their kings out gradually. So after king e2, knight e4, a move trying to play knight c3 next. So instead, Spassky plays rook c1. So they exchange rook takes c1, bishop takes c1, and then the game continues. Fischer plays f6. Spassky plays knight a5, and then Fischer obviously responds with knight d6, protecting the pawn on b7. So king d3, and Spassky already has his king in the game. Slight advantage, obviously. So then bishop d8 is played just to attack that a5 knight. So it has to retreat to c4, and then the bishop moves to c7, defending the black knight on d6. So it continues. Spassky captures, Fischer captures back, and in the game, Spassky played b5, only to be continued by Fischer's bishop takes h2, which was really just quite a beginner's mistake, something you might see club players do actually. I don't think you would see this much often in Masters games, so this was obviously a huge mistake he made, and this probably cost him the game. So let's see how Spassky responds. g3, trapping the bishop on h2, and then black continues as normal, even though obviously it's not normal because he's not gonna get that bishop back. So then after h5, and then see he probably didn't calculate the king e2, king f3 line, even though it works. So after king e2, h4, and then king f3. This is the move that Fischer didn't see, and this traps the bishop. After king e7, continues with king to g2. So black plays h takes g3, f takes g3, and bishop takes g3. Now white is a whole piece up for 2 pawns, even though, and this seems to be a good advantage. And let's see how Spassky takes control of that. Let's continue. Fischer plays king d6, just continuing trying to get those pawns. So Spassky pushes his a pawn to a4. So Fischer, king d5, bishop a3, king e4, and now bishop c5, attacking the a7 pawn and defending the e2 pawn. So then after a6, then b6 is played, and it's already showing that Spassky is better in this position. And the game continues with f5, king to h4, preventing the g5 move, which may have actually, if Fischer had been able to play it, white's advantage would have clearly been gone down a little bit. So f4, e takes f4, king takes f4, and then white plays king h5. Looking forward for king g6, but obviously Fischer sees this and he's not allowing it by playing king f5. So then the match continues with Spassky's bishop e3, Fischer responding with king e4, bishop f2, and Fischer goes back to king f5. And now Spassky is just moving around his bishop and trying to take that pawn on g7. So bishop h4 played by Spassky, Fischer plays e5, Spassky plays bishop to g5, and now his king is stuck there. Bobby Fischer's king is stuck there, and it will take a long time for him to get anywhere. Because if he moves, then the pawn on g7 will obviously be lost. So the game continues with e4, bishop to e3, killing move right there. And then so after king a6 is played by Fischer, king g4, king e5, king g5, and now that pawn on g7 is lost. King f5 is played, a5 is played, so then black plays bishop to f2, looking forward to moving to e1, after obviously g5 is played by Fischer, king takes g5, and then king c4 is played by Fischer. So after a few moves, Spassky plays king f5, Fischer continues with king b4, and then after Spassky takes on e4, Fischer takes on a4, and now he's down a bishop for a pawn, which is a big, really bad thing to be down. Then now Fischer is just a matter of opposition and zugzwang. So now he plays king b5, and then after Spassky plays king d6, Fischer obviously resigns. Then after this, whatever Fischer plays, even if he plays a4, wherever he moves, this pawn on b7 will be lost, and this b6 pawn's a passer, so Spassky could easily promote and in the end win the game against Fischer. Here's a picture from that game after Fischer made the huge mistake. So this game was the first game in the series, like I said, between the Spassky-Fischer World Championship match of 1972. And so after round one, Spassky is winning 1-0, which is a clear advantage, especially since Spassky was the previous Soviet champion and Fischer is the challenger. So it looks like Spassky shall retain his title after all. Well, find out after the next few games. Bye. Click that like and smash that subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell. Have a nice day.